Hi. We'll just wait another couple of minutes. I think Mariam is joining. There. Okay. Okay. Um, so today I wanted to do a little bit of more fine illustration. So, or something that would be practiced for a more realistic looking.
Hi, Aditi.
Hi. Yeah. So today's pencil illustration will be metal objects. And the sketching that we will do today would be more try to get more realistic effects in metal. So I'll just demonstrate a few. I'll just go through the pictures and then demonstrate a few items, and then we can begin. Sarla has just dropped off. Okay. So what I've picked out are images which have a very high contrast and at the same time also have a few spots of dull highlights. We have objects like these, which are like a galvanized iron planter, a very shiny steel kettle, another shiny kettle, and then a ceramic vase. So each of these each of these objects are made out of different materials, and each material responds to light in a certain manner. And as it reflects the light, we are able to recognize the identity of the medium or the material. So we are going to try and sketch this um, and try and replicate the grays in such a manner that that material identity remains intact. Right? So in the past, what we've done is make very quick sketches, not paying too much attention to realistic output. So the lines have been very casual deliberately so that you get more comfortable with sketching. But today we're going to do a little more focused illustration. So, yeah. So if you notice, all these lines are fairly casual. We deliberately kept them less accurate, and we allowed for our imagination to fill in the blanks. But this time, we are going to keep our artwork more direct. Even this pencil sketching that we did, the lines are more textural. So we're going to move to slightly finer lines this time. All right, so first thing that I want you to do is sharpen your pencils. Make sure that you have a nice point on your pencils. If your pencils are going to be blunt, you might you might not get certain very sharp edges on shapes because the metallic highlights have a very sharp edge. That is what makes them look metallic. So we'll start off with the first not cylinder, first sphere. So what I want you to do is observe how the grays are seen in all the different areas on the sphere, and only copy that. Don't try to think about what those areas are, what they're reflecting, why it looks the way it does. You just need to copy it. And the less you see in it, the better it is for you. Or the less you try to think about what each shape represents, the better you will be able to illustrate. Now, most importantly, for today's session, absolutely no erasers. If you think that your work is not up to mark, make another illustration and keep making them till you are satisfied. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because every place that you feel that it's not up to mark, there is there's some learning that if you erase will go away. You have to have it in front of you. It's like putting a stake in the wilderness saying, don't take this road or don't take that road. It is, these are going to be your breadcrumbs. So resist the temptation. You're not going to gain anything from erasing, believe me. But also remember that today's this whole fine art exploration is about endurance. It's about allowing yourself to see one object for a very long time and recreate that. So try to get into the details of your observation. So as we go along, I'll explain about what happens while you're doing this observation. But the pace at which you should go for this today's study is very slow. It's very unlike what we normally do. We're making quick sketches and we're slapping on color. But today I want you to take it very slow. So even if you can explore just one sphere in the entire 1.5 hour for today, that is perfectly fine. It does not have to be a quick sketch and then move forward. Those quick sketches will not really help for today's exercise. All right. Okay, so I'm going to begin. I want you to keep your pencils down and just observe. So keep the image of the first sphere around for you to see, and then you'll be able to see how I'm translating that. Okay. First and foremost, size needs to be reasonable. Don't make it too large. Just about so much is fine. All the other images, even the kettles, make them small in the beginning because you have to fill out very little detail. So keep them about this big, and our contrast will be maybe fewer shades than you see, but they'll be more accurate in a smaller size. Right, now for this sphere, move your hand very loosely. Mark all the spots very loosely. Because if you try to make one line, it's a hit or miss. You may get it fine once, but more often than not, it'll look inaccurate. Mark out all the areas very light. And then like we normally do, with respect to the existing lines, draw the rest of the shapes. Now the highlights over here are obviously reflections of some kind of light. So they're going to be very light or white. We'll make them as light as we can. Now there's a line that passes through this highlight. It's not going to make a big difference in the larger scheme of things. So I've demarcated all the areas that I see have different shades. And now, yes.
Can you just zoom in a little bit because Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So you can keep darkening your line as you become confident that that is the line you want to make. Now I'm going to make the shading over here as I see it. It's not very sharp. It's very fuzzy. It almost looks like a different medium altogether. And we are going to shade this in with uniform pressure to a large extent. So this is going to be a uniform pressure, very light all over. And then I'm going to increase a layer, and layer upon layer, I'm going to keep adding darkness or depth. Now, each of these things you can keep adding as the picture progresses. So with this gray, I'm going to proceed to the next area and start shading that. So it's a little darker on the outside rim. And then as it comes closer, it becomes lighter because obviously the reflection of this light is going to keep the area around it slightly illuminated. And you can keep doing this very slowly in almost straight lines, even though it looks like this is rounded. You can make them straight lines, short lines, but keep it very light so that the lines are not visible as lines. Now, points like these, we need a very sharp line. Oops. This focus on my camera is automatic. Unfortunately, I haven't figured out how to keep it, how to set that. Now, in this area, the shading is quite dark. Sorry. So I'm not going to do a very light color first. I'm going to do at least a medium shade, but I'm going to keep it at just that and no more than that. Because if I want to modulate it, I need to have that available. So here I'm going to put some medium pressure. And now on the right, this thing kind of folds in. So there's a dark edge here. And add subsequent darkness over here. Now, the one thing you need to keep in mind is, of course, here there aren't straight edges, but try to not rotate it too much unless you can rotate your reference image also. Because the moment you turn the angle, your all your references change, all your points of reference change. Now I will add an extra shadow from here to slowly increase the darkness there. So handle each section with care. And because it's pencil, you can keep going back and forth in different areas, adding more darkness. But don't start off dark in the first shot. Start with lighter shades, moving to darker shades as layers. Now here there is more gradation. So there will be a point where you are unsure whether what you're doing is right or wrong. And it doesn't look anything like the reference image. Don't worry, just keep doing it. At some point, it will start looking like the reference image. When it's half done, it often does not look like what you're trying to draw. But then when you notice that, you notice that there are some things you're probably not seeing correctly or you've not been able to illustrate correctly. So like over here, now I've got enough darks, but this top section needs a little more darkening. And it shouldn't be so light over here. So all these little things matter, and they'll all start coming together the more complete your image becomes. Over here I notice that there is a depth. Okay. Now with respect to the darks, these become even darker. So everything is in relation to each other. All right, you want to give it a shot now? Oh, one more very important thing I forgot to tell you. Now, while I have drawn, keeping the, yeah, please wait, huh? Most importantly, it's how you see your reference image. Make sure that your reference image is on the same plane as your artwork. So if you are watching your reference image on the screen in front of you, hold your book like this, sit back in your chair and illustrate so that your eyes move from your screen to your artwork, just like this. If you keep it flat and your reference image is in front, and you look to the front and then you look down and you look front and down, there is always loss of information. So if you have a handheld device on which you're going to see the reference image, keep it right next to your artwork so that your eyes move from here to here. So the artwork, your work, and the reference image need to be in the same plane, always. Now, the reason why we don't want to use erasers over here, apart from the usual reason, which is connected to this, is that with the eraser, you get a false sense of security, but you will end up making more mistakes. Because you think you can erase them. But when you don't have an eraser, you have uh, increased your adversity, let's say. There's no need to do it, but the moment you do that, you are extra careful. So you'll start making sure that you are drawing what should be drawn. And if there's anything that you are doubtful about, knowing that you can't erase it, you will double check. You'll double check the reference image. You will think twice before you make a line on paper. And that helps you build a much stronger observation. I think that this goes for all kinds of gambles that you might take. If the stakes are high, you tend to be a little more cautious. When you're done with the object, when you have to make the shadow, this time round, make the shadow without marking an outline. Just slowly rub your pencil in the area from just underneath this ball to as far as you think it should reach, but keep the edges very fuzzy. So the way to keep the edge very fuzzy is when you demarcate an area, like this area has been demarcated as the shadow. And then I just start increasing the darkness towards the inside of that area, very gradually increasing the layers. How is it going?
Nicely.
Good. Do any of you watch cricket?
In our house, we are watching these days women's cricket as well,
Very good.
along with the Test cricket. We are
Excellent.
watching IPL.
So, Devashri, can you tell me, if you watch this, what is the difference between uh, Test cricket? Sorry. Sorry. So, could
Yeah.
you tell us what's the difference between a Test cricket and a one day or even T20, apart from the time and the overs that they play? Why bother with Test cricket? Would you know?
Actually, I don't like cricket much, so I prefer watching one day
Okay,
rather than Test because that is very slow game,
right.
not
It's a slow game, right?
fast game. And in one days also, I really enjoy watching IPLs because I see the friendship between like people from, I mean, girls or boys from different countries come together and play for their own team. So
Right,
that I like more about IPL
right.
rather than one day T20, one day whatever. I prefer watching IPL because I like these things to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for each of these, there's a different format, right? For one, with IPL, they gather together people from different places and they give you a quick half a day interaction and they
Yeah.
finish it off. With one day, they would have 50-50 overs and you spread it over 6 hours possibly.
Yeah.
And then test cricket, the most boring of all, goes
Boring.
on for 5 days and it doesn't even have a result. Very often it's a draw
It's
and people are just going on and on. There are no runs, nothing happens. So I'd in fact asked a friend who used to watch test cricket, why bother? I have an uncle who will watch a test match every day if he can. So I don't know.
absolutely.
So the thing is, what my friend explained to me is very relevant to what we're doing today. So normally we are looking for something that is quick, like in our travel sketching that we did last month. It was about a 20-minute time frame within which we have to quickly illustrate a lot of things, whether it's buildings, transport, whatever you have. But what we're doing today, especially, not even last week for pencil sketching, is something like test cricket. And I want to just explain from what I heard from him and what we are doing today. And we can actually transpose this onto other fine arts as well. And you'll see that there is a certain similarity. So the exercise that we're doing today, it doesn't matter how many illustrations you make. Even if you make one illustration, the experience of seeing and re-seeing that same reference image and recreating that same object over and over and over again is is meant to strengthen your observation, one, and second is your skill. So in the first round, if you're making this sphere, you make certain shades and there's a learning always. You will learn that, okay, your shades were too light or too dark or just right. And this just right happens in a few places. And in the other places, shape, size, shade, all of that changes. And what you learn is, again, after the picture is over, that maybe I can do something differently and then it will become more accurate. So I'm not saying it's wrong as much as it may be inaccurate or inappropriate at that time. So the second time when you do it, you are a little more careful, but you are more focused. You know what you have to be careful about. It's not just a shot in the dark anymore. So the second time round, your strokes are a lot more conscious, and therefore they are a lot more careful. And that care is what gives you modularity. So you know that you have a range, even in making strokes in pencil, which otherwise you wouldn't even know, because we just quickly make a sketch. We more or less get an idea of what we want to show. Anyway, it's supposed to be an illusion. Fatafat put paint on it, make some nice lettering, and you're done. So the difference between fine art and contemporary art, or more, I would say, even casual art, is this attention to detail. And why I bring test cricket is because it can be boring. And for 5 days, you could be doing the same thing over and over and over again. So in test cricket, apparently, it is the bowler doing his thing, trying to perfect his bowling stroke. And with every ball, he learns something and he changes it and he does something else. And then he changes the strategy. And apparently, the fun in test cricket is for you to watch that, how he is building modularity in his game. Likewise, for the batsman also who's facing the ball, he is doing the same. He is increasing his modularity. How many different kinds of balls can he face? So it's not about the runs, it's about that craft of when the bat hits the ball and in what circumstances, and how beautifully you can manage that interaction. So the runs are just okay. So by the way, we hit a four. It's not even considered a big deal. So that's why those 5 days are important. I felt that those 5 days was just so that the men could stay out of the house and not have their wives chatting with them. So look for a long holiday and say, you know what, there's a test match I have to play, and then just find a way to spend as much time as possible on the field. Just shirk all responsibility and just go home to have beer and drink and say, oh, I'm so tired now. I was out in the sun the whole day. So, anyway, so the purity of the game is what we're after. So, similarly, even in this, we are trying to get a purity of the stroke. Just
Today
once.
we are today we are playing test.
You're playing test. Try and see this if this is happening. Can just try to notice if this
Yeah,
is happening.
that's right.
If you are more or less done, those who have finished, we can go and look for a metallic object in the house. And you can bring it and keep it with you while the others finish. We are going to make one metal kettle first, and then we will move to this object. Anything in your house that you can pick up, even if it's right in front of you, just identify that that's something that you can illustrate. So look for anything in the kitchen. You've got all these maybe dabbas or utensils, maybe some containers, anything that's metallic. And if you have white metal, then that's even better. So we don't have to translate like a yellow metal into grays. Okay. Shall we make the kettle?
Can I show you what I've made?
Yeah, Richa. Nice. Okay. What do you think?
Um, yeah, it's looking good.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the strokes, of course, I'll have to work on to get exactly the same size and everything. But yeah, I am sort of happy.
Very good, very good. So you're very nice, yeah. The central bit between those three lights, I think you can make it a little darker, but very lightly. All right, shall we move on to the next kettle? Okay, this is the one that I'm going to make. So here already we have two materials. We have the white metal, probably steel, of the kettle itself. And then we have the wooden handle and the knob on the lid. So both of them have got a different way of reacting to light. And they also have their own intrinsic color. There is a texture in the wood, but we are going to completely ignore that because it's too subtle. We don't need to spend so much time on it. But with every shape that you see, try and notice how there's dark patches and there's light patches. We are only trying to faithfully replicate the dark patches and the light patches. Okay, so again, I'm going to do a little demo so that you can see how I'm going about the illustration bit, and then you can start. So you can keep your pencils down if you want to. I'm not going to make it too large, just about so big. So my kettle is going to just be about so much, and then the handle on top. Now, when I'm making the shape though, if I again make just one line, that's a hit or miss situation. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to create some kind of measuring scaffolding like lines. Just vertical and horizontal lines give me an idea of proportion, even centering. All these angles need to be reviewed. Do not make a single final line till you are 100% sure. Now, when you're measuring how far the spout needs to go, you can always measure with the pencil and say, okay, the spout goes almost as far as the mouth of the lid is. And then it's almost a vertical line. It's about the same height as this joint. How much space do we have in between over here? So all these adjustments are necessary. Now, though I'm making multiple lines, what I'm not doing is making lines like grass. Yeah, so avoid doing that. And as your drawing progresses, you'll notice that maybe some proportions might change. And you must do that. You must change the object shapes. It's like the more information you get, it's very scientific. More information you get, you have to rework your theories, your observations. Now, do we know that these dimples on the side are more or less the same size? On the one on the right is much narrower because this kettle turns. So really don't think, just draw. The more you think, the more errors you are likely to make. It's very strange. I usually don't appreciate non-thinking. I keep blaming everybody in the country for their non-thinking capability. But in this respect, do not bother. But do use your mind to question. And by that I mean question what is the exact color here? What is the exact shade here? Keep it active, but not doubting yourself. Every line that we make, we are sculpting a shape out of these lines. Look at it like that. And when you're making the handle on top as well, measure it visually and even horizontally like that, vertically, how much space where, with respect to the lid, where does the handle end? About here. Then you have a line. Draw everything very lightly first. Okay, now once this is done, we will mark out objects like these. This is the soldered edge of the handle. Then there's a very interesting knob, sorry, a screw over here. This is the shape of the handle. Whatever shadows and highlights you see, you can literally make the outline, but make it very light and fuzzy, unless of course it is a sharp line. And then address each shape individually. So here, there's two ways you can go about it. Because it is a dark area, there's really no point in making a very light shadow or light shade. So you can start with a mid-tone. Don't make it too dark. Don't make it too light either, till you come towards the bottom. And notice that it is not uniformly dark throughout. It does become slightly lighter towards the center. It's fuzzy on the side, so you don't have a very sharp line there, except maybe over here. And then it becomes fuzzy. And then you have a highlight over here, which is a light gray shade. So gradually increase the darkness. Don't be in a hurry to finish it. And then, most importantly, keep a rough sheet handy so you can use it as a guard sheet. Because as you come closer and closer to the picture, when you have enough lead or graphite on paper, you will start smudging everything. Once you come to this area, you'll notice that this and the next area merge. Their grays are merging. And from there, you can get a cue for the next shape, which goes around this. And there are these fine white lines just underneath the rim, which you need to keep. Notice as much detail as you can and replicate that. Now here there's a slight edge. Now, when you want to make darker shades, remember to change the angle of the pencil a little bit so that you can get into the crevices. Try to notice all the subtle shades. All right, you get an idea now? Okay, you can also start now. Now remember, leave all the lines that you've made for the scaffolding part intact. Okay, don't change that. I'm going to go sharpen my pencil a little more. I need a very sharp tip for this. I'll be right back. Yeah, before I forget, Devashri, I wanted to thank you for the images you shared that time. Couple of classes ago. I keep forgetting the street pictures. Wait, you're muted.
I have many images. I have clicked many pictures, photos. I will share that with you. Maybe on the group, or however, should I give those to you so that whenever you need, you can share those images on the group?
Yeah, you could do that. Or I was wondering, have you uploaded them somewhere? Because if you can do that, then maybe on Pinterest or something. I mean, you can automatically just get promotion on social media, and then we can look for those images. We can follow you and start using those.
I will do that. I will
Yeah,
do that.
that'll be
Yeah.
much nicer.
They
And
are all in my Google images store.
okay, okay.
I will share those. I mean, I will have those in
Yeah, put them
create.
on any kind of public link so that
Yeah,
then you can access it. And I
sure.
was wondering whether you also do still life. So then this is another topic that you could probably click pictures of in black and white
Yes, yes.
and upload that also. It'd be very nice.
I had for Milind, I had clicked still life of steel bases.
So then maybe you could share those also because he's done
I
quite
think
a
I
bit.
have those. I have to check whether I have those because I keep deleting as it gets the gallery gets full.
Right,
No,
right, right.
no space
No,
because of
increase your gallery space. Don't delete your pictures.
no. Actually, I need to change my mobile itself.
Okay, okay.
I need to get bigger this thing.
No, no, put them on hard drive, and in fact, you could actually put them on places like stock images or something, because that way, then you can monetize it also.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay.
I have nice pictures actually. I want to share. I will give those some of those to you right now if you want to use for any of our sessions. Like,
I would
um,
love it. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
sure. We finished with the traveling thing. Otherwise, I had this um, Kutch, that palace
So
photo.
you could just put it on the art from home group any case,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that is very fairly fluid. We don't keep it restricted um, to whatever subject we're doing. No? So
yeah, yeah.
in
That
that
is
group,
there.
if anybody wants to continue with travel, they'll have some inspiration.
Yeah,
You can feel free to put anything over there on that group.
yes, yes, sure, sure.
Wherever this object turns, notice that between the joint, there is a little highlight. That is very specific about metallic structures. Now, normally when professionals would make a pencil sketch illustration, they have lots of tools, like they will have liquid graphite, they will have all these brushes for blending stumps, flexible erasers for erasing out all the highlights as necessary. So all those tools are available to us also. It's not as if I'm saying banish or bar all tools, but um, you need to develop a certain skill before you should use those tools. At least that's my opinion. There's a certain maturity of line that you need to work on. And they're two separate things altogether. You can arrive at that maturity only through strenuous sketching. And using an eraser really doesn't help over there. And then when you use eraser as a tool, that is immensely helpful. So some years ago, I'd had Aditya Shirke come and do a session with my students. And this was the one thing that he also stressed on, that the eraser is like a negative pencil. So unless you know what kind of negative line you're going to make, don't use it to remove a positive dark space. That's a very interesting perspective. Now there's a little bit of wave texture over here. Just if you can ignore it, that'll really help. Now, even in this central section, though it looks like one gray, there are some lines and some textures visible. Now, by now, you will have become much better at just moving your fingers and getting some graphite on paper very subtly. I'm sure in some places you must find good shadow or shade and light also. All right, so this can continue. We have just another 15 minutes or so. If you have any questions about this, I can answer them now. I'd like to move to uh, the metal object that you might have.
Aditi, which pencil are you using? The normal HB?
I'm using an Apsara Dark, extra strong, extra dark, Apsara Absolute.
All right, okay, thanks.
So, just a little bit I wanted to explain about making an illustration from real life objects. Often what happens is that you don't see the object in real life in two dimensions. If you have your object in front of you, just keep it at a distance and just see how you know that it's a cup, but there are lots of shapes you cannot translate onto. Where is this now? I'll just show you. So you guys on screen will be able to see how round it is over here. I'm looking at it from this angle. I can't really tell what sort of oval this is. So that in itself is also a challenge. And then you have all sorts of shadows and all. I'm going to put some items over here to change, to just create an added reflection over here. So what one needs to do is, again, sit away, observe your item and your sketch in a similar plane and try to draw it from real life. Because it's all well and good when we make it from a picture, but in real life, something else happens. And I want you to experience that. So very often your shapes might be a little off. And only when you make multiple lines, you'll be able to tell from there whether your shapes are accurate or not. Or sizes, like how long should this line be? And in this case now, I will have almost vertical highlights. This is that object that is reflecting. Otherwise, it was getting very monotonous. And the tabletop is reflecting on top of it. Then I have a rim. Now, while you're drawing this, if you feel you're getting a little confused, use your camera and click a picture of the object. But when you're clicking it, remember to keep it in your eye line. So this is my eye line over here. My camera should come and almost stand in the way of my eye line. I should not see the object. So while your eye line is over here, don't click a picture from the bottom, for example. So if the object is here and you are looking at it from here, don't click a picture from up here or from the side, like how we normally do with our cameras. If it is in your eye line, this is where your camera should come, should cover the object and click a picture. That is the true image that your eye is seeing. And use the two together. Keep the object in front of you. Don't change your position. And then hold your camera to see that it matches. And then see how you are translating a 3D object into a 2D image, which then you will draw on paper. Okay, so I'll proceed with this. And you guys, if you have your object in front of you, let's just take 10 minutes to at least make a basic sketch and try and see if there are some issues that you come up with. Are you getting it? How's it looking?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay, good. So for homework this week, you all can choose more objects from your house, all the objects that you own and use, starting with just your personal objects, and try to sketch them. From that, if you have metallic objects like jewelry or kitchen utensils, try making those. So I just want you to be practicing shapes and shading various grays so that your hand becomes lighter and you become more comfortable with this drawing. So if you can continue this practice for 3 months daily, so from 15 minutes to an hour daily, within 3 months, your drawing skills will improve like 1,000%. You'll always have a confident line and you won't be scared of drawing anything. Now, the other thing that does happen, however, and by now it might have happened, is you're probably not getting your shapes like you want them. They were coming better earlier, even half an hour before now, and now they're not happening. And you're probably getting confused with what areas you have to make dark or light. That often happens. It's just normal fatigue. So for something new, when you're doing something new, I think your senses are very active and you're trying to do a lot of checking back and forth. Is this right? Is this wrong? So it can fatigue your eyes, and your brain and your hand. And you need to take a short break for 10-15 minutes. Go do something else. Best is look outside the window and look at other stuff. And then when you come back to your picture, and then when you look at your reference image and your image, you will start noticing the discrepancies immediately. So there's something about how the information that we have stored in our heads when we are doing this sketch actively, it's like in your RAM that needs to be washed out. And even 15 minutes doing something else, seeing something else, just removes that information because our brain doesn't have the capacity. So once that is gone, then when you see it, it starts gathering fresh information because it says, okay, fine, now I have to do this task again. Look, see, evaluate, and then you get absolutely a fresh evaluation. It's like taking new measurements for pants, and you catch certain mistakes. So if you ever feel doubtful about, I don't know whether I should make this dark or light, whether this line is long or short or whatever, it's probably fatigue. Put your pencil down, rest your eyes, and by the time you come back, you'll be able to take that call much easily. Okay, cool. So next week, we're going to do something very exciting, but I'm not going to tell you because then either you all will get too excited or you all will run away. So please come for class next week. Okay? All right.
Thank you.
I'll see you then. Have a nice weekend.
You too.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Aditi. Please share the images on the group.
I-
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.